This is the Toyota RAV4 PHEV, and it's without doubt the most surprising car we've driven this year.
Take a moment, enjoy the calm. You could be stuck on the N7 with two teething toddlers, but we don't do stress at the AA. We do roadside rescue, and our trained mechanics fix 8 out of 10 problems at the roadside. Buy online now at theAA.ie. Relax. Yellow and black have got your back.
Please do give this video a like if you think it's any good. Subscribe to the AA Ireland YouTube channel, and of course, hit that bell icon to stay in touch with all of our latest video releases. Toyota are on a bit of a roll right now. As we film this in August 2022, they have a massive 16% market share, so they are running away with the Irish sales charts this year. And their decision to bet the house on hybrid has paid off as people are moving away from standard petrol and diesel cars towards electrified vehicles. Well, this RAV4 PHEV is the most electrified that we've seen from the brand so far. Now, they will go full electric soon, but for now, this is the biggest battery you can find in any Toyota vehicle. So, is it any good? Believe it or not, it's the 5th generation of the Toyota RAV4. It's hard to believe. The original model was launched back in 1994, and it was a very cartoonish 3-door model, but it's grown substantially over the years, like many cars have. And this latest version is much more aggressive looking, especially around the front, where this front grille is very imposing. This blue Toyota badge gives you an indication that it's the PHEV version. But there's very sharp angular lines to the design up front on these lights. Very low slung front spoiler. And overall, it's just a much more aggressive looking car than previous generations. When we come around to the side, you'll notice this very angular, very sharp design continues on the side. Previous RAV4s were a little bit soft around the edges and a little bit squidgy. This is very sharp when it comes to how it's been drawn. And you can see in particular these imposing wheel arches, very pretty 19-inch alloy wheels, which are standard on this sport model. Plenty of Toyota plug-in hybrid badges on this model as well, so you know exactly what you're driving, and so do your neighbours. Nice two-tone colour combination as well, red with a black roof. And here is your charging point, because of course this is a plug-in hybrid, so you can plug in this model from a wall box. And when we come around the back, twin exhausts, and they are actual exhausts, more blue Toyota badging, more plug-in hybrid badging. And under here is a boot lid that opens very slowly. But underneath here, you have a useful 500 litre luggage capacity. Back here, there's also a very useful 220 volt power supply. Now, it does come with a 2-pin plug, but you can of course put an adapter in there, so you would be able to power various devices from that. Rear space is decent too. I have that front seat back the full way, and I still have space in the back. Plenty of headroom. I'm 6'2" and pretty fat, so I can fit in here perfectly well. So time for a tour of the cabin of the RAV4. The quality of the materials at hand is very good. There are some plastics which are okay, but just maybe not the most attractive. But overall, the quality of the materials that are lower down, armrest, gear shifter, nice leather on the dashboard, are first class, so you won't really have any complaints. Overall, there's a nice feel to the steering wheel, plenty of multi-function buttons on this steering wheel, so if you do like buttons, you are in luck. This isn't a minimalist cabin by any means. There's plenty of buttons here for the climate control. Down here you have your various functions in terms of operating as either a hybrid or an EV, so you can press between auto, EV and HV mode. If you press and hold this button here, you can recharge the battery using the combustion engine. So if you are driving along and your battery is low, you can actually, on a motorway or another road, fully recharge the battery. And it will use a little bit more fuel, but in our experience, not very much. Here's the infotainment system. This has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. When you come out of that, some of the navigation systems look a bit mad, looks a little bit like one from another era, but most people are really probably going to stick with the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The sport model has the black headliner on the roof. Here is the back seat, plenty of space in the back. So no complaints, especially in terms of space. I have the seats back the full way and I can also fit in the back seat, so it is very generous in terms of legroom in the back. So when it comes to the drive of the RAV4 PHEV, this is where this has been a really surprising car this week. It's fast. It has 306 horsepower. It will get from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 6 seconds flat. Now, pause on that one for a second, because that's quicker than a Volkswagen Golf GTI. It's quicker than Volkswagen's ID.4 GTX, which is a performance EV. This thing is fast. Plus, it's really frugal. That 18 kilowatt battery on its own can drive you 70, 75 kilometers on EV mode, and we've done that over the course of this week because we're used to driving EVs. We can drive them quite frugally, and it will manage that sort of distance if you drive it correctly. But as a hybrid, it also helps the RAV4 sip fuel, and sip fuel it does. Now, Toyota are claiming figures of 1 litre per 100 kilometers, which, right, might be true at a very certain specific time, but overall, when you're driving this car normally, even when we drove to Westport, we were recharging the battery and there was 2 big lads in driver and passenger seats. It was still returning 5.4 litres per 100 kilometre, no matter what we did. Recharging the battery, we were still getting that. I drove to Westport and back the other day with journalist Neil Briscoe, and I have a quarter of a tank of petrol left with this car going back to Toyota today. It is incredible on fuel, and that's the point. All the talk is of EVs at the moment, and of course there's a big scramble for EVs, but not everyone's really ready for EVs. If they don't fancy an EV yet, they shouldn't be bullied into getting one. Of course, we will all end up driving EVs, and one day we'll all end up driving hydrogen. But for now, if you want the best of both worlds, this is very much it, because if your commute allowed, if you have a wall box at home, you could, in theory, never put fuel in this car from one day to the next. But if you decide, okay, I'm in Dublin and I want to drive to Dingle right now, you can. And of course you can do it in an EV and you can stop, etc. But this one does give you that freedom if you are a bit anxious, that you can drive it a long distance anytime you like. And that for some people is very important. This is a really good car. And as an alternative to a standard petrol and diesel, and as an alternative for those people who aren't quite ready to go EV yet, this is an excellent choice. Okay, time for a word on pricing and some conclusions. This RAV4 PHEV Sport model, as you see it here, is €54,000. And that's quite decent value compared to some of its key rivals. Now, you can save some money again by going for the Sol version, which is a few €1,000 less, and you do it out the 19-inch wheels, you get 18s, you do it out the black headliner and the paddle shifters, all of which you can do without realistically. But as a car, as an SUV, this has really surprised us because A, it's very fast, B, it's incredibly frugal, the equipment levels are great, it drives really well, it drives like a performance vehicle, plus it has all of the things you need for a family vehicle. It's a generously sized vehicle, there's plenty of space in the front and the back, and the boot space is good. Yaris GR aside, this is possibly Toyota's finest work to date.